So if I'm Chinese and both my parents are white British, how does that work? So my parents tried to have a child naturally, but it just didn't happen, and they thought instead of doing IVF, they would adopt. At the time in China in the early 2000s, they still had the one-child policy. What this meant was boys were the preferable gender and girls were more likely to be left for adoption. This is because boys were more likely to go out and work, and also because women were seen as less important in society. This meant that I was left literally on the streets of China and I was taken into an orphanage. I spent some time in the orphanage, but obviously it's not the best conditions, even though they try to look after the kids as much as possible. I was fostered for a year or a year and a half before I was adopted. I think this is just to acclimatise the child to family life, I guess. I think this was also a time where my parents were trying to adopt me. It's a really long process and they do a lot of rigorous investigation into you as a couple to work out if you're a good fit. My parents got a picture of me before they adopted me. I don't think they had a choice between lots of different children. I really just think it was luck. Growing up, they always tried to ensure that I was integrated into the culture, so I socialised with other Chinese girls that were adopted. I also had years of Mandarin lessons, but none of it stuck. What I find weird as someone that's adopted Chinese and growing up in London and everything is that there's an expectation that you should be able to do these things. People expect me to be able to speak Chinese, or even things like using chopsticks. Yes, I am good at using chopsticks because my parents taught me, but they're English. But someone might say to me, oh yeah, of course you're good at using chopsticks. And I'm like, wait, that doesn't make sense. Because yes, my ethnicity is Chinese and I'm so proud of the way I look and the way I am. However, I don't feel very Chinese, where the connotations that people have with Chinese people, I don't feel that I fit into that culture. I feel like I'm more aligned with British culture because that's all I've known. And I'm sure this is a similar experience for people that are mixed, because you don't quite feel fully white and you don't quite feel fully your other culture. So in that sense, I sort of feel like I'm mixed, but I don't have the benefits of being Asian. I have been called whitewashed in the past, and it's just because I don't present myself in the way that people expect. I've grown up in this really specific environment and this is just who I am. And I can't really change the fact that I didn't have Chinese parents. Most common questions that I get asked about being adopted is, no, I don't know my real parents because I was left at an orphanage. I don't really know who they are. Would I go and find them? Probably not, because I love my parents. I don't really feel like there's a part of me missing, and I don't think it would solve anything in my life. Just because I don't look like my parents, it doesn't mean that they're any less my parents. I have been back to China twice, one to adopt my younger sister and the other time to go back and visit my orphanage and do a whole trip around China.